You're listening to the Business Spotlight podcast presented by the Lancaster Fairfield County Chamber of Commerce. I'm Logan Weaver, the marketing coordinator for the Chamber. Thanks for tuning in. Today we have Esther Thomas, the CEO and co-owner of David White Services Heating and Cooling. Thanks for coming in, Esther.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about David White Services and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so David White Services is a residential heating and cooling company. We don't do commercial. We stick to residential. We will do there's so many rental cabins in Lancaster, Airbnbs and around the Hocking Hills region that we do those, but not like downtown Lancaster. We're not doing big rooftop things because we want to specialize in people. And we started, my father was David White. He passed away in 2019 and he started the company in 1977. And so I have been in heating and cooling since I was 3. And my older sister is my other co-owner. So we own the business 100% female, local owned. We're second generation and third generation is coming along. We have numerous of our children working for us now.
That's awesome. Love hearing about family, local owned business, especially women owned business, which we'll talk about that later on. So we're kind of getting toward the end of the summer months, fall is right around the corner. And I don't know about you, but for the weather this weekend, windows up, everything,
glorious.
AC, everything turned off. So you guys, back in my mind, but that being said, why should now be the time when people start thinking about their heating and cooling needs?
Yes, now is definitely the time to start thinking about it. And I know we see in our business that when school starts, we slow down, which is one of the reasons to think about it now because you'll get in a lot faster when we're slow than when it's really cold or really hot. So we can just come and take care of you. But it really should flag you as you are getting ready for all of the things that happen in fall on the shift. You do not want to be thinking about the inner workings of your house once you're into the holidays.
Exactly.
So September, the end of August and September is really when people should be thinking about their heating and cooling and remembering their high heating bills from last year or the cooling bills they just had. Now is the time to start looking into getting those under control.
Yeah, especially with a lot of utility companies starting to raise their rates.
Yes.
Increase in natural gas, too. Do you guys specialize in both electric and natural gas?
Yes, electric and natural gas in our area. We also do geothermal. We do gas fireplaces. Really anything that we can do to make your home a haven of comfort. So one of the things that's very, very important about heating and cooling, when we are doing new construction, for example, you don't really want to care about this. You have 8,000, well, it's probably more than that. It's probably 80,000 decisions when you're building a new house or moving into a new house. And the tile of the backsplash does seem extremely important because it's something you're going to see, right? And you just get this decision exhaustion. But heating and cooling, you cannot be comfortable in your home.
That should be your top priority or one of your top priorities.
And keeping it nice also is a top priority. So making sure that you are doing maintenance on your heating and cooling, it should be very, very important to you. Just like having a quality foundation, you don't want to let water drip into your foundation for years because it's going to make your whole house crumble. Heating and cooling is like that. You want to control your humidity and the temperature inside your house, not just for your comfort, but for the safety of your home and your environment. You don't want to have leaks. All of these things matter. And we have seen a huge increase in pollen on people's outdoor heat pumps and air conditioners.
Interesting. How does that affect?
It hurts it. It will hurt it because it clogs it up and chokes it.
Interesting.
So I know this. I go around preaching this, and then I just had it happen to me. This spring, I was very, very busy, and I did not schedule my maintenance in a timely manner, and I noticed an increase in my electric bill. We jumped.
Really?
And so I was like, okay, this has to get taken care of. Because I didn't have time, I had one of my techs instead of me doing it. And he came over and we ended up actually having an issue with our indoor coil too, because it ends up choking it. You can hurt your blower, you can hurt your fans, you can hurt your components.
Just from that pollen buildup.
Because it can't breathe. doing your maintenance on your heating and cooling, professionals are better because they know what they're doing. However, even if it's just you, those units are made to sit in the weather and you can hose them off. So go out. If there's a yellow hint of a color to your unit, if there are pine needles stuck to it, you want to get rid of those. You want that outdoor unit to be able to get airflow into it. So it will last longer, which will save you money. And also so your electric bills go down. So when we got our coil fixed inside, our electric bill dropped by $50 a month.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's pretty neat.
So it's
something
important.
as simple as that,
Yes.
a fix like that can lead to so much savings. That's pretty interesting.
Yep. Which obviously everybody's bills, who knows what's on it. But heating and cooling is about 50%, especially if you have your hot water tank in that amount. It is a lot of your bill. Mm-hmm. And when you think of how much you're paying for electricity every month, minimizing that should be a priority as far as keeping money in your pocket.
Yeah, especially these days where folks are, maybe a little bit tighter, economy challenges and stuff like that. You want to be able to save in any which way possible, and utilities being one of the larger expenses for a lot of folks.
It's kind of like subscriptions, right? You don't want to have all these subscriptions that just come on your credit card every month. You want to analyze that.
Exactly.
So heating cooling's the same.
So that kind of leads me to my next point. What are some ways that people can be a little bit more mindful about being energy efficient besides just hosing off their outdoor units and saving a few bucks there? Are there any other ways that people can be a bit more energy efficient when it comes to their heating and cooling?
Yes. So I know you probably, anytime you're on a home blog, you hear this, but it really is important to seal your house whenever you can. If you can see light under your front door, that is air coming in and escaping. You are heating the great outdoors. And you're like, well, it's not that much. But if you're standing by a door that has a crack on it, it's cooler there for you in the summer than it is when you step off the porch. Mm-hmm. Because it is cooling that space right there. So sealing the cracks that you can visibly see. And then also do inspect your ductwork and just make sure there's not holes in it, or space where it's come apart, or things like that. If you don't want to climb in your attic and look with the flashlight and whatnot, you can inspect your registers. And if there's no air blowing out of them, that's a good idea that perhaps that vent has a problem with it and you're wasting money just going out somewhere. You're just cooling or heating something that's not benefiting you inside your house.
Yeah, because a lot of those issues, as you mentioned, can't be seen by the naked eye, at least on a first go around, inspecting. And I've seen, where the trim around doors, that seems to be the number one cause, or at least something that people don't really think about.
Right.
Until they actually seal it and then they notice the actual difference.
Yes. And unlike my windows in my living room, I don't have expensive windows. They're old. And I think most of us here in Lancaster have older houses, or many of us. They've been built like 1960 or before.
Right. Yep.
Definitely 1980 and before. And so our windows are older if we haven't put the money into updating them. And so I have the see-through plastic that you put on, and seal it so it makes it more tight. And then I just put on the inside, I have sheer curtains, so I'm still getting all of that light. It protects you from the weather and from wind, that feeling of air moving in, especially in the winter. I like that. I do leave a section about 2 feet wide of those big windows so that I can see the birds in my bird feeder. But the rest of it, I'm protecting with both curtain, a little bit of curtain, and something over the windows.
Yes. So something as simple as that can lead to
it
so much in
doesn't
savings.
Cost much money, and it gives you a lot of savings. So those are things you can do on your own. Then the other thing is we're getting ready, which this goes into the energy efficiency also, but we're getting ready to switch January 1st to a new refrigerant.
Okay, tell me about that.
So not to get too much into the science of it, although I can geek out on that, but I won't bore your listeners with it.
That's another episode.
Yes. But the original, so this has been very, very interesting to the world and the United States government since Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher were in charge. And they got all of these, it's called the Montreal Protocol, and they got this involved because they wanted to make the ozone repair itself. And refrigerant was one of those things, not just heating and cooling, all of the propellants and things out there was one of the things that was destroying it chemically.
Interesting.
So they had low ozone protection. and they got this passed. And that's when I was born in 1974, and people weren't using SPF then. And then the ozone started going away, and then we all started using sunblock. It was to fix the ozone that a lot of those things got put in place. And now they're still making those changes slowly, but they've really done a tremendous amount of work on that. And so now we're working to make the air cleaner and make it lower global warming potential, and just not put chemicals in the air that are unnecessary.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about, that being a potential, because people, whenever they think about global warming and contributions to that, they may think, CO2 emissions or vehicles or stuff like that. But the AC units and the refrigerant in it, that never even crossed my mind.
And technicians like us and our company, we're being careful to not lose too much of it, but you can get a leak in your coil, and that's just how it is. That's how metal works.
Yeah.
So it can just go out, and then there's just going to be some loss from time to time. Things happen. And so having it not be dangerous is important. We don't want to be contributing to any problems. We want to be part of the solution.
Exactly.
So this is, we're about to hit another one of those landmarks where we switch refrigerants to something that's even safer. So what we're using now is safe, but we're ready every so many years. We move up a notch to a little bit safer.
Yeah. Always looking to improve.
Yes, exactly. So right now is actually a great time to start researching this. Make sure that what you have works, and that if you can keep it, that's all the way up and ready to go. And then if you need something new, now's the time to start looking.
Let's go a little bit beyond services and talk about the business itself. Because as you mentioned, family-owned, woman-owned, you said your sister, correct?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the meaning and the impact of being a woman-owned business.
Okay, so my dad started it. My sister and I were not super interested in heating and cooling when we were growing up.
Most kids aren't.
Yeah, whatever your dad's doing, that's lame, right? I don't want to do that. So I started my own company as far away from heating and cooling as I could get, which was making wedding cakes. I owned a wedding cake bakery. And then he got sick, and we had those conversations of like, okay, we're not ready for this. He's just going in there and running it, and we're pretending like it doesn't exist. Like we had worked there, I've always sort of worked there for at least a couple days a week, but
you didn't really know the intricacies of the details.
I didn't have to, and I didn't want to. So we started, and I had 2 kids in school and a baby on my hip, and started general managing David White Services, which that girl's 17 now, so it's been a while. And what I discovered is whether you're running a bakery or you're running a heating and cooling company, you're taking care of people, which we used to do more commercial. And then when Kara and I took over, we wanted to have kindness and empathy, which not that it wasn't. My dad's the nicest guy ever, but we just wanted to focus on people and promote machines that make your home life better because we care about you. And I think that women really have this amazing role. It used to be when I was growing up, you would see like powerful women who were wearing business suits on Wall Street, like they were trying to fit in with that. And I think a lot more now, women are just always in the business place. We're everywhere, right?
Yeah, you see them hands-on.
Yeah, hands-on. And now we can just be women and bring all of our strengths to that. So in a male-dominated industry like heating and cooling or contracting in general, mixing in women, and especially women in leadership positions, we're talking about people's homes. Homes are lived in exactly equal by 50% men and 50% women. Exactly. So you want your voices to be 50% men and 50% women.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, yeah.
Because this is important for families. And it's less than 10% by a fair amount that are women-owned heating and cooling. There are couples, but to have it completely women-owned is unusual. Southeastern Ohio is rich in contractors that have women influences. So I do feel very blessed to be in this community that's so welcoming to that. But there are challenges with it. And now at this point, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm very happy to be helping people with something so critical to their joy and health as taking care of the atmosphere in their house.
Yeah, and I think that's something that anyone needs to think about too is, it doesn't matter if you're male-owned business or women-owned business. You're talking about your home, your services.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter who or what it is.
Right.
As long as they've got the service to help you make that better, then it shouldn't matter.
You need all the voices in this particular subject.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're talking about people's happiness and their family life.
Especially here in Lancaster too. We see it from government down to, as you mentioned, small business. There are a ton of nonprofits, organizations, businesses that are female ran, not so much female influenced, female ran.
Yeah,
so
no, it's true.
I'd say Lancaster really does have a strong women-owned business community.
Yeah, absolutely. And the chamber does support that too. Not to plug the chamber too much, but we love the Chamber of Commerce.
We appreciate it. We like to elevate voices. And one thing, as you mentioned, with it being a male-dominated field, one thing that I have seen is not to give them, let me rephrase that. The Fairfield County Workforce Center has done a great job at, trying to promote, the skills and the trades, especially these days where a lot of kids may not be wanting to go to college. They see that there is potential in the skills and the trades. And the Workforce Center, especially here recently, has had success stories from female high school students going through their program and then eventually getting apprenticeships locally for heating, cooling, wanting to start their own business, which is so smart on their end, but smart and great to see those opportunities being opened up, opportunities that may not have been opened up before, because I think you still see a lot of students, female students try and lean towards like the healthcare, which is fine, totally fine. Those are more so female dominated fields. Right. But to see it be more diversified and spread out more equally, I think it's pretty interesting.
No, that's a totally valid point, and thank you for bringing it up, because I do want to give a plug. We do not currently have any in the field female technicians. We have in the past, but it is still very challenging for them. And it is hard when you're graduating from high school and you're a girl to choose this as a career. I did not. I always have been in it. And I've been a tech for a couple decades. I didn't want to do it when I left high school. It just felt too challenging. But I can tell you now at this point in my life, man, is it great for women. Those technical scientific fields, there really are a place, because you're not in the office, where you have freedom of movement in a way that you may not have in the office. So I really, really would love for more girls to get in the scientific technical fields and get out there, to have the opportunity, which I would love to have a female maintenance technician come in your house, and they're the ones that do the maintenance on your heating and cooling. What a comfort level for families to have that. And then for that girl or woman who is doing it, they have the freedom of their schedule. They're in their van running their day their way.
Yeah.
And we've had them in the past, and it really is a great job for women and moms and women just graduating from high school that maybe don't want to go to college or have the resources to go to college. I personally, I know I sound very picky, but I also didn't want to go to medical. I didn't think that I would be good at it.
I'm too squeamish.
So, those felt like the opportunities that you have, but really there is a world out there where women can be in charge of their day, their life, and that there's good money to be had in contracting.
Tell me a little bit before we wrap things up here about, the training that you guys provide and, the onboarding.
Yes. So we have, we call it a 2-year apprenticeship. It's not set in stone that it's 2 years. Mm-hmm. And we hire from tech schools, people who already have their EPA and licenses for things like that. We also will get that for you. So I teach that. We have found it beneficial. So my husband is my service manager, and he knows tons about heating and cooling and was in the field a lot more days, sum total, than I was. I was having him teach it because I thought that some of the students might be more comfortable with a man. And after about 2 years of running it, my husband's like, I think you should just do this. They should just see that you're doing this and you have the knowledge too. You do not need me.
That's a great point. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a pretty good environment. If any women want to come to our apprenticeship, you can come, we'll pay you for us to train you. And we're very open to you making mistakes because we know mistakes happen. You have a good attitude and you're empathetic towards other people. That's what we're always looking for. It usually starts in the spring, those early classes in the spring, just as students are starting to graduate, having those conversations in April and May. My name's Esther, as we said, and you can just call David White Services and ask for me in my email, and they'll let you leave me a voicemail. And I would love for spring of 2025, with the new refrigerant and all of the new stuff coming, to have my 2 apprentices both be women.
That's awesome. Love to hear it. So Esther, if someone out there is in need of heating and cooling, they're listening and like, hey, I should probably get my system checked out.
Yes.
How can they reach out?
So they can call us at 740-654-HEAT or 4328, or they can go to davidwhiteservices.com. And if they go to our site, we just started a new thing where you can click and get an estimate so you can know how much a new system will cost you on our website.
That's convenient.
So yeah, you can do that first. It emails, you put your email, it emails us and tells us what you're interested in. And then we can help you from there. But at least you already know how much it's going to cost you before you actually have to talk to a person.
Yeah, that's awesome. Esther Thomas, CEO and co-owner of David White Services Heating and Cooling. As she said, you can learn more at davidwhiteservices.com. Esther, thank you so much for coming in today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to the Business Spotlight podcast presented by the Lancaster-Fairfield County Chamber of Commerce.